We have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley. He called the Chinese, his Chinese counterpart from the People Liberations Army on October 30th, before the election in the United States, continue the conversations until January 8th at least. So that means after what happened on January 6th as well.
There are multiple conversations, apparently.
Telling them, I will let you know if the U.S. military is taking any action against China.
Yeah, Colonel Vindman, famous in the hearings for impeachment, Lieutenant, I never thought I'd be quoting him, but here's what he said in a tweet. If this is true, General Milley must resign. He usurped civilian authority, broke the chain of command, and violated the sacrosanct principle of civilian control of the military. It's an extremely dangerous precedent. You can't simply walk away from that. The Joint Chiefs press spokesperson is not denying these calls were made. They're trying to spin it now as stability-based, and that's ridiculous. This was a total undercut of military command. Now, the question is, Than, is there the political will to do anything here? And that's going to depend on what the Democrats start saying.
We know that the sitting chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, loves to get his hands on transcripts before they're out. Is he asking for this now, Jay? Where's the request from him today that these transcripts be released to his committee? I haven't heard that either.
The fact that they now admitted his calls, plural, This is their press release, his calls with the Chinese and others, I'd like to know who the others were, in October and January, in keeping with his duties and responsibilities, conveying reassurance in order to maintain strategic stability. But he doesn't have that authority. That is not his job, Wes. No, he's way out of his lane.
Way out of his lane. He even went down when he went to the command center at the Pentagon and asked them to commit to him that they would call him first. He even makes the statement, according to Bob Woodward, that there is a process for this, and I am in that process. That is a lie. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is not in the process. And to add frightening, insult to injury, Nancy Pelosi, according to the book, when she called General Milley, she demanded of the general that somehow that he get the nuclear codes taken away from Donald Trump. That is asking someone to commit a coup. It really is. The president has authority. We have one president at a time, but Nancy Pelosi, of course, the general told her he couldn't do that because he can't. But here's the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Nuclear war could happen at any time. Hopefully it won't. We pray it won't. But she's asking a general to take the nuclear football away from the commander-in-chief. Think about that.
A frightening statement that has just come out that I'm reading. It does contain a lot of Washington double talk. But what bothers me is this statement, General Milley, and I'm reading from the press release that has just been issued, continues to act and advise within his authority in the lawful tradition of civilian control. What civilian control? He picks up the phone in the midst of a bunch of other military officers, apparently on the phone, and calls General Li Zuocheng, his counterpart in China, and tells him, if we're going to attack, and they haven't denied that, I'm going to call you ahead of time. It's not going to be a surprise. Is that civilian control of the military?
Well, not only, it says in the lawful tradition of civilian control and his oath to the Constitution, he continues to act and advise. He is not in that chain. Even if that were the case, General Milley is not the one who's in the chain of command on these types of decisions. Let me be clear again. He is an advisor to the president. He does not have command authority. And yet this statement implies that somehow he was acting within his command authority, which he does not have.
You take General Flynn, who makes a phone call to his counterparts talking about their transitioning of government, and they indict him. And the FBI sent agents over to discuss with him at the White House. I want to see if FBI agents are going to go over to General Milley's office at the Pentagon. Okay? And say, hey, we want to talk to General Milley. You don't need a lawyer. We just have some questions we want to ask you. Did you have a conversation with the general of the Chinese military and tell them, if we're going to attack you, I'm going to give you a heads up because we've known each other. We're good friends. We've known good friends with the Communist Chinese Party. Okay, so that's a lack of judgment. We've known each other for 5 years. So if we're going to attack, we're going to let you know. And this way, if we do attack, you'll know so you can shoot down our aircraft and our pilots if they're flying over your government, your country. So, General Milley, did you have that conversation? Was that a conversation you had? Who else was in the room? Who did you talk to? Who else in China did you speak with? Was this one conversation or 7? What took place in the command center? What people were there? What officers? I want to know. We, the American people, need to know this. We're going to get on top of this at the ACLJ because this really put all of our national security at risk. And when I start thinking about it, it's outrageous.
We're just preparing the action now. We're getting the statement. You know, as we've been on the air, the statement came out from Chairman Milley's press team. There's no denial here. In fact, it's an affirmation of what's in the book.